Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hustling Runner. It's been around 10 days since the Rome Marathon, and this video is about giving you a brief recap of my experience running the race, and also to share with you as much information as possible that I collected from the race itself, so that in case you want to run the marathon next year or anytime in the future, you'll be able to look at this video and gather as much information as possible to prepare yourself for it. A quick update about my race performance. In Ljubljana Marathon, my personal best was 3 hours 34 minutes, and in this marathon in Rome, I was able to beat that by around 7 minutes. So I ended up with a timing of 3 hours and 27 minutes. So I'm quite happy about it. And at the same time, I think I had a lot of juice in me. I had a lot of energy left in me. So I think I can beat this time as well. I felt I was very conservative throughout the race. So, yep, the Rome Marathon has left me very happy about my performance. So we arrived in Rome around 2 days before the marathon. We left Lagos on the 16th and we reached on the 17th of March. So we took a cab to the hotel, and then once we reached the hotel, we grabbed a quick bite so that I keep fueling myself 2 days before the marathon, enough amount of carbo loading. So we went out after that to collect the bibs to the exhibition. The exhibition hall was around 10 stops away from where we were staying. We were staying near the Colosseum itself. The exhibition center was quite grand, and by the looks of it, it was prepared for a much larger crowd. Thankfully, there wasn't much crowd on the first day, and we had no trouble finding the right queue and the right counter to pick the stuff. And we also had ample time to take enough videos and photos of the surroundings. The volunteers were quite helpful and they were very quick. So the moment we entered there, one of the persons gestured to us to come to help us, and he quickly took down our numbers and told us the directions of how to go about the exhibition, what are the stalls around, where to pick up the t-shirt. And once we picked up the t-shirt, once we picked up the bib, I had enough time to go around and look at the different stalls in the exhibition. Once we looked around all the stalls, once we were done with looking around all the stalls, we went down to pick up our t-shirt, which was again a very easy affair. They had ample number of volunteers and quite a few counters to pick from. So overall, the exhibition was quite smooth and very well organized. And I think we were also a little lucky that we went 1 day ahead. Once we were done picking up our bib and the t-shirt, we had enough time left to roam around a little bit. So we took our time off and went around the streets of Rome a little bit. The next day we had a tour booked, so we were busy with that. But then it also left us with enough time in the evening to check out the start and the finish line, the preparations that were ongoing. So we took a stroll along the starting line and checked out where the race is going to start. One of the advantages of staying close to where the race starts is that you don't have to wake up really early to catch a metro or to catch a bus or rush off to where the race is. So since we were staying right behind the Colosseum, we were like 15 minutes or 10 minutes walking distance away from the starting point. So we started quite late. The race was supposed to start at 8 a.m. So we started around 7:15 from the hotel. We got out, we walked towards the entrance. Just to give you an idea, it is on the other side of the Colosseum, opposite side of the metro. So they close down the metro on the day of the marathon at 5:30 a.m. So in case you're not living nearby, you might have to walk a little bit of distance towards the starting point. So we walked towards the Colosseum. By then there were already a lot of people there, but the proceedings were quite smooth. The people passed through the security checkpoints very easily, and there were a lot of baggage drop trucks available, so there was no blockages anywhere. Nobody was getting stuck because of that. So things were moving really fast and really smoothly because the arrangement was quite well managed. There were enough porta potties, so there were quite a few people queued up in the beginning, but if you keep walking along the way, there are plenty of them, so you can as well go towards your corrals, race corrals, and use the porta potties there where there is less queue. There was a nice bit of a air show arranged for the crowd, which sort of lifted the spirits for everybody in the who were participating in the race in the beginning. And to my surprise, the race started off on time. In fact, they were supposed to start at 8:04 for my wave, but they started at 8:03, which was really impressive. I started a little slow because initially the crowd is a little thick. There are a lot of people, around 13,000 runners, I think, in total, and the crowd is a little thick in the beginning. So I went a little slow. I was supposed to go at sub 5 throughout the race, sub 5 minutes per kilometer, but my starting kilometer was, I think, 5 minutes 20 seconds per kilometer. So after that, the crowd, of course, loosens up a little bit, and then I started off at my target pace. I was able to keep up with the pace quite easily throughout the race. The crowd support was brilliant. They were very energetic, and there were a lot of bands that were playing very frequently. And I sort of every time when I crossed a band, I sort of ended up running a little bit faster because the tempo of the band was very energetic, and it really pumped me up a little bit, gave me an adrenaline rush at some points in time. But it was fun still. I mean, I think it was worth it, racing a little bit along with those bands. There were plenty of water stations, there were plenty of salts available, and I didn't have any problem because I usually run at a very high temperature around here in Lagos, around 28 to 30 degrees. So running in that cooler temperature felt really comfortable to me. It felt like I was in an air-conditioned environment throughout. So I didn't really, there were a lot of spawn stations as well, but I didn't need any of them, thankfully. And I felt hydrated and quite energetic throughout. I had carried around 7 gels, but I ended up using only 5 gels because using too much of it was giving me some amount of side stitches. But anyway, it was not something which troubled me too much. And the cobblestones were a little difficult on the ankles post-race, but during the race I didn't really feel that it was difficult to navigate along those roads. And there are quite a bit of it actually, and if you're not careful, you might actually trip on it or slip on it. So you might want to be careful. You might want to watch out for those cobblestones while running this race. But I think if you are mindful, then it's not that big of a problem. It's not that big a problem. The inclines were not so hard, except for maybe towards the end. I think around the 35th or 36th kilometer, there was this tunnel which was really deep. I mean, which went down, and it's about a kilometer long, I think. And that was the only part where I felt a little tired. But otherwise, the race itself is not so steep. Even if there are inclines, it's spread over very long distances, so you don't really feel it that badly. So overall, I think the race was quite reasonably flat, and it was very easy to navigate along. The last 5 kilometers for me is turning out to be my favorite part, as you know, even in Slovenia, I really pumped the accelerator very hard towards the end. But this marathon, it was even better than my previous marathon. This marathon, when I crossed 36 kilometers, I was still quite strong. I felt really strong, and I started pushing a little bit towards the 5 kilometers. But I mean, in the end of it, looking at my splits, I was able to easily do below 4 minutes and 30 seconds per kilometer. And I didn't really feel it. I mean, it's not like I was getting breathless or I was feeling tired. I felt like I could go on and on and on. So that was really encouraging, and in fact it was a little steep towards the end. I mean, there was an incline and there was cobblestones. Nothing really troubled me, so it left me with a very good feeling that my next marathon is going to be even better than this one. So that was how I felt in the end of the race. And having done a 7-minute personal best, 7-minute improvement over my personal best, I think it was a very satisfactory race throughout. I have no regrets whatsoever.
Great! You're amazing, guys! You're unbelievable! Welcome back! This is the right line! Don't stop! But go straight for 50 meters, please! Don't stop after the line! Dello sport, Italia Marathon Club, ATL.
We got a new baby.
Piano cerchiamo di
That was good.
tutti. Della gara.
Complimenti. Thank you.
Con l'obiettivo delle emissioni zero. Please, thank you.
So at the end of the race, when I finished, there were people handing out some refreshments. They handed out some fruits and biscuits and stuff that you would need to recover. And they also handed out some blankets, which I unfortunately did not use because I was very euphoric after my after my run. I was like, oh, I don't need all this stuff, and I should have taken it though because my body was really cold after later on.
In particolare ai 13.000 e più maratonesi e dalle staffette oramai davvero manca poco, 2 ore e quasi 2 minuti.
So I think overall it was a very well managed marathon. I think in conclusion, in case you were planning to run this race in the future, of course what the first thing is, choose a place which is close by, because and I think you should book it well in advance, because the places near the Colosseum, they get booked out really fast. The date of the race is sometime in March, I think the 3rd Sunday of March, which sort of is not yet the very hot high tourist season, so you might still get hotels, but trust me, it gets booked out really fast, because the place is one of the most popular tourist locations. The Colosseum is there, the Roman Forum is there, the Trevi Fountain is there, the Pantheon is there, and the race itself, it starts from right in front of the Colosseum. So you better choose a hotel which is close by, and you should book it well ahead of time, because in the end you might not get a very good place to stay in if you don't book in advance. Then secondly, the race, like I said in the video before, the race actually starts in front of the Colosseum, a little bit ahead from the metro, but the entry point is actually in the backside of the Colosseum. So that again, you can take that into account if you want to reduce your distance further from the start point to your hotel. About the race itself, it's mostly flat. It starts off with a decline, so the first kilometer actually should have been much faster for me, but it didn't turn out that way because of the crowd, because there's a lot of people who are packed up in the corrals. But overall, I think the race itself was never felt like steep anywhere except for the tunnel which I mentioned earlier, around 35 or 36 kilometers down into the race. So that tunnel, it just goes down and it continues under the tunnel for a while, and then it comes back up. So that was the only part where it felt a little steep, but other than that, I think even the inclines don't feel very heavy, because towards the end it's still an incline and there's a bit of an elevation increase towards the end as well, but it didn't feel so bad. And other than that, there are a lot of good places to eat, because I think before the race you need to do a lot of carbo loading, so you might want to find some good places to eat. Maybe you can try to avoid some of the popular piazzas, and try to look for some of the locations maybe a little further away from the Colosseum or further away from the popular tourist hotspots, because those places, I didn't find them to be that great. The food was not great at all, and the service also wasn't something that you would write a lot of good reviews about. So most of the time I had pasta, because I was I was just hogging a lot of pasta and maybe a little bit of pizzas in between as snacks. Like, pasta does the trick for me. So a good amount of carbo loading just before the race. The exhibition hall was very easy to access via metro. So you just take a metro from the Colosseum down around 7 or 8 stops. There's no change. So you just get down from the train station and it's around, I think, 600 or 700 meters walk to the exhibition hall. So it's quite convenient. The arrangement was super. So I think overall the marathon was quite good, and I would recommend that anybody who wants to run a mid-sized marathon with very good arrangement, and also in a very historic city which offers so many things for tourists, then you should probably run this marathon. And that's it from my side. For now, I think I'm going to post some more videos a little bit later, because like I said, it's a tourist paradise. So we did a lot of touring, so I'm going to post some of those videos very soon. So I'll leave you with this for now, and I hope this experience that I shared was useful for you. And please do like and subscribe in case you want to see more such content. The next marathon I'm going to be running is going to be probably in September, and I'm going to start posting its preparation very soon. Like this marathon, I did a 7-minute PR, and the next one I'm hoping to do even better, because I just feel that I have a lot left in me to deliver, and I have barely scratched the surface. So if you want to follow some more of my workouts and my routine, which I'm going to post now for the next marathon, so please do like and subscribe and follow me for more such updates. Thank you for watching.